Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second part of our review of Clipping's album, There Existed an Addiction to Blood. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
My name is Chris Chrome. What's up?
And today we will be going through the second half of this project, track by track, giving you our thoughts and opinions on every song. We already did the full intro bit in part one, so you can go check out part one and then watch our thoughts on the first 7 tracks where we established our feelings, baseline the album. And so usually the second part, things go a little quicker, and it's because a lot of stuff was already discussed in part one, and we don't want to be boring. You know what we're trying to say? But we recognize we're not professionals, and we also recognize that you coming to watch or listen to this review may actually know way more about clipping than we do, so we don't want to come off too pretentious or anything, and we're super open to your comments, so feel free to leave those, and we'll be super thrilled to respond to you and engage in some conversation. We also up on Spotify now and Podbeam and all that crap, so if you want to do some audio onlys, we can do that. Links below. We're waiting to hear back from the Apple people if we're allowed over there. On that note, without further ado, Chris, run for your life. It's like he does it again on this very track. By again, I mean on the last song, Club Down, he applied these very modern and like fresh flows to stuff that underneath it sounds nothing like the music you would typically accompany that kind of flow to. And I find that truly remarkable. It almost like takes the boundaries of what you expect from sound or music and just subverts a completely new meaning into it. But what did you think about this track?
I thought it was cool. The way that they kind of set up the story. I really enjoy the stories that we're getting in some of the songs. From what I understand, this song is kind of supposed to represent like fear of being, I feel like, hunted, targeted, watched, but it's not like a group of people or nothing. It's the idea of somebody in particular. So we start off with the first verse. Way too Hollywood to be in Hollywood. You done did it now. Heard the dope was good, and well, a hood's a hood. Fuck, you gon' get it now. So for me, that kind of explains like the idea of Hollywood is being achieved right now with this character, but they're so up there in that like ideology or that concept of what Hollywood is that they're no longer actually part of what the reality is.
Well, if you just like kind of even compare it to the last few songs where it's kind of taking a look at, I guess, how music or how Hollywood the industry is and how it represents stuff. So it's like way too Hollywood to be in Hollywood could then also be way too hood to be hood. Like you're faking it, you're acting a certain way, and now you pretended so well, you done did it now. You got the attention of a killer.
Right. And then, but I like what he says, heard the dope was good, and well, a hood's a hood. It's kind of like, once you're in the hood, you're in the hood. It doesn't matter. Like, there's certain rules, certain type of things that happen in the hood, no matter where you're at.
And then if you, I don't know, just kind of like it. But I feel like the Hollywood line is meant to imply this is a person who got into it for the wrong reasons, you know, because they imagined it to be this glamorous-y thing, you know. They said she gonna get you, right? They said she got all the juice. They said keep her happy though, or she'd be coming after you. You know, it almost takes the idea of the people you deal with in the hood and turns them into this woman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I mean, I don't think it's like a legitimate woman. I think that it's supposed to be this idea, right? Like this metaphorical concept or something. So I do.
Well, I mean, I think it's a metaphorical concept, but also a literal person at the same time. Because, like, in the way that it's described now, I think we're supposed to take it as a metaphorical concept. But once the song ends, I think it also is a metaphor embodied by a particular woman that you pissed off, as we'll come to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just also really worth noting how absent the beat is. It's really just almost ambient noises and whatnot. You know, they said, but the shit you got invincible when you get high, and then the sticky fingers never stop to wonder why. So you're sprinting by that fish market trying to make it to summer. The blood in the ears is drumming, the heart is a cable jumper.
Which is cool.
So what's cool about that is it's like you got high, and then you said, oh, well, I can steal this. I can maybe take a little clipping for myself. Essentially, you go a little bit too far. And then I like that because Sticky Fingers, the rapper, has a song called Why, where he wonders why. And I thought that was maybe a clever line to that, which is like a throwback to somebody else. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it, because I did just Google Sticky Fingers Why to see if there was like a track. And then it just...
well, it also could be a reference to like weed. Like when you're bidding up weed or whatever, your fingers get sticky because of the THC or whatnot. So it's like he could also be alluding that he's currently... like he doesn't really see the difference, or he's not asking why while his hands are like still in the act of rolling up weed or whatnot. Like he's kind of just absent from
distributing narcotics, or I guess
that
whatever. Anyway, then it's like you're running, and then whoever stopped running is now a ghost, which alludes again to this notion that constantly comes throughout the album, that it's like once you get in this fast lane, you can't stop.
Right.
The second you stop, it's over. Until you get old. If you get old, you survive. You ain't seen them headlights in a minute, so it might be cool. Night is falling gently, and there ain't no one in sight. Stop tripping, stop tripping, stop tripping, but don't stop moving. Hold, not giving the visions a minute to make a move. Let's go. So it's almost like you picture this person's on the run, and they've been running for a while, and they're in their car or whatever, and then they stop in this alleyway, and they're like, nobody's around, so everything feels safe. So it's okay, but don't stop moving. And then you got the chorus, which kind of feels a little, I don't know, trappy in nature without the music. So, hope, get it right, get it out of sight. She on the street, run for your life. Don't you know that she ain't afraid to shoot? And then you have the let's shot woman going, you ain't scared, is ya? And she responds, and it flows. And I'm like, yeah, the chorus is nice. It's like she's gonna come and get you, and she's like, you ain't scared. Now she's appeared. And then the whole.
But I like the you ain't scared, is ya? Like the way that they're questioning it. Kind of like you, in a way, it's like you talked a lot of shit about being tough, and now the tables have turned. And now you acting scared.
You ain't scared.
Kind of like how I'm taking it.
And then I feel like the second verse, it's really well done. Like it's wrapped in the same level of quality as the first verse, and he just describes in vivid detail like this dirty mattress. It smells like piss in the alley, and then he sees a dumpster, and he gets in, and he describes the liquid on the floor, and then it kind of flows. Fuck it, it's too dark to see. This is closer to the end of the verse. Cannot cry and can't be weak. It's a code of honor. Got to keep it gangster in the streets. OG, 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 OG's us. And that part was like one of my favorite parts on the song. It's the way he flows it, like you're trying to be gangster, you're trying to keep it hard, and then you in the middle of like trying to remember the code, you snap, and you're like, oh Jesus, and you're ready to like start fucking bawling your eyes out.
But I like how it's like OG, like oh gee, oh golly gee, like.
But it's almost like, but it evolves from like original gangster to like that.
Right.
And
like
then
the double meaning of that.
And then this the devil's playground ain't for play, but you was born into it. Now far in the distance creeping up is that underground music. And this is where the song goes from being just like a song to next level. So you start hearing the music kick in now, and you almost picture like a car pulling up, and this is the music coming up.
It's also presented in like in a slow build up, as if like the car is like approaching slowly. Yeah, like this music really has this like.
The chorus kicks in, but the music's there, and then the music that contains the killer is Le Chat, and then she does this like savage verse where she's like.
But I do want to point out though, the way that the beat forms and changes. So as David Diggs goes now far in the distance, creeping up the underground music. We're talking about how the music is pulling up. Once the car has kind of like pulled up and driven by this alleyway or however it is. Oh, it stops. The whole beat takes on the underground music that comes from the car.
And then it's like, just like a completely different experience.
Like a third, yeah.
And then she comes in with that verse, and it's like, burn both your legs, split your head, and yeah, your mouth, alright? Throw your garbage ass in the dumpster, and now your shit on your grave. Blood, I'm so addicted to blood. I'm cutting your body up. Never know your name. Your remains are scattered through the mud. And I like how she brings up the dumpster. Like, now it almost feels like this guy was already dead when he hit the dumpster, even if he's running away. But it just feels like, okay, that's your grave, or either way. However,
which kind of like prefaces, and it kind of connects in a sense to the "Oh He Dead" song. Like it's an inevitable thing. Like in this universe, you're dying.
And like put you in the ground, a relapse gonna dig your ass back up, because she's just so fucking committed to killing him that you can't even die once, you're gonna die twice with it. And I like how, I guess, like they use a woman for this, right? Because it doubles down on the you don't see it coming nature of it, you know? Drama queen, I'm bringing this drama, don't fuck with me, I'll hunt you, cut you up like me, take your kids, a very tasty luncheon, buddies, you bitches for fun, punch a hole through your lungs, cut your motherfucking, and this is pretty savage, right? And then you're gonna turn into another missing person case. And it's almost like when you play the game and you do it wrong, this is the consequence of what's going to come. And it's like your typical, I guess, song, except for all the parts where it's like you have this cowardly guy who talked it up. He is the guy that maybe was being rapped about in the last couple of tracks prior to this. And just the way she comes in and they use the music take over like that, like it's in the covering of the car. It's just, it just does to music what you don't often see in that top level, like thinking and stuff. I don't know.
It forces, and what I like about it is that it forces you to follow the music. It forces you to take a second to kind of break yourself from listening to the lyrics and really try to pay attention to what else is being created in the background. And I think that music is kind of losing touch with that a little bit, as well as people are starting to bring it back, as we can see. But it's like sometimes you're either listening to just the beat and, like, you know, fuck the lyrics, or you're just being like, oh, the beat's kind of trash, but the lyrics are really good. This is like a nice blend between specific themes, specific messages, and just a whirlwind of creativity that comes together in one nicely packaged presentation. It was great.
I just find this to be like another way to do music that I don't feel like a lot of people do. We touched on this in the first review, but I think it is worth first part of the review, but it's worth like mentioning again. And that's that I've never heard an album that made me feel like I'm at a horror movie quite like this. Normally horrorcore feels slashery or over the top or whatever. Maybe there's albums out there I just haven't heard. Like, what is the albums that you've heard that has scared the shit out of you the most? But for me, this album, the way they manipulate the sounds and the music actually leaves you feeling kind of scared, like, what the fuck, so often in more of a psychological thriller kind of way, and it just excites me. Like, it's really nice. That's all I'm trying. Like, it blows my mind. I give it a 4.5. As much as I really like it, it's like the sparseness or whatever. Like, I feel like there's songs on this album I like more at this point, but I'm still blown away by how great this track is. So 4.5.
Absolutely, I agree. 4.5.
And the next one is called The Show. This is a fucking weird one.
Well, I think it's a connection to the last track.
I think it's an interesting one that fits into the top level theme of our society's addiction to blood and the showmanship of it or whatever. But how do you think it fits into the last track?
So I feel like because Lachat, we should say, the cat, she kills him.
No, she doesn't
like,
kill him. She captures him.
Right, captures him. And now, and the way I'm kind of taking it is that, like, she's not just capturing him for his own show, for her own pleasure. It's for the bigger audience. It's for the bigger entertainment. So now they're kind of presenting this song where she's basically deciding what she's going to torture with him first, take a part of body parts, or how she's going to present this spectacular show to the audience.
I mean, it also connects to this dark web lore of a deep web lore, of a red room being performed. And a red room is this alleged
snuff films
internet feed where, in theory, because when it comes to the deep web, there's the stuff that you know is out there, like, we'll say underage activities that are sad and really bad, and drug dealing up the wazoo. And for a while there was some drug dealings and there's some like crazy stuff out there. But like sometimes things like 4chan and whatnot will also be very imaginative in the stuff that comes out, meaning a red room, as an example, as we'll get to it in a second, could exist, but it's more than likely like a rumor or an urban legend as opposed to like a real thing, mostly because like the internet, like the authorities are good enough to like bust up some of this stuff the way it's described. Like, it would never stay up. It would like these people couldn't pull off the level of secrecy required,
right,
like uniformly. Anyway, so a red room would be a room where somebody's there and the audience collectively decides how to torture and kill this person. So the person who's doing the torturing...
I watched a movie like that. It was like a horror movie like that.
Yeah,
cool.
It's inspired by these stories, you know?
Right.
But like, essentially, if you look at how this song flows, right? See how the bone exposed. Nice blood bouquet, trace of marrow. Fuck boy trying to hold his nose. Let it drip one sip, taste this halo. It has like this fun like flow, right? Like that. But it's also like just kind of nonchalantly describing this scene of somebody's elbows, bone poking out and dripping down. Well, you know, just kind of describing like the flaying of a person or whatever. Can't afford cat got his tongue and she might just get his lips next verse for fun. And you're right, because she's doing it, so it's probably the chat from the next. Yeah. Okay, but so you're right, there.
I like how the way he's presenting the flow kind of has this happy feel to it,
yeah,
which gives off this like sadistic type of feel, because it's like, oh, well, what body we gonna chop today? And it's like, dude, yeah. What?
And then it kind of ends with, open your eyes, bitch, you got to see this, as though the person who wanted to see this is almost starting to question if they really want to do this.
Right, like it's too sick at this point. Do you want to turn it off?
You get like the chorus where it's like, don't know which body part should go. First spin the wheel, vertigo. It's an act you partake in and just show you all paid to watch. Let's start the show. But then I realized, as you were talking, this is also probably a metaphor for how the music industry and other forms of arts and entertainment spin a lot of these activities in such a way where, or the news even, it's almost like,
the only way I can connect it is, we've heard a lot of songs, and this is probably a long shot, but we've heard a lot of songs where artists kind of, you know, talk about record labels and how they've been treated and extorted and such, right?
I mean,
so maybe. It's kind of like, well, what I'm saying is like, we as the fans watch these artists kill themselves for our own entertainment.
Well, I think I look at it a little bit differently. Like, forget about music people, particularly. Look at the news. Look at the type of content we as people, humans, consume. So you want to watch the video of the guy getting beheaded by ISIS. You kind of want to watch that when it comes. I mean, you don't.
I mean, right. Okay, so yes, I'm intrigued to see, or interested to see what it is.
If we think about the album,
but I also think
as
that
a core theme being there's an addiction to blood being more than just music. It's
right,
not just the music people.
Right.
And it is more like we, the people, almost dictate what is cool.
Which we do.
And in
like,
a sense,
you only pop off, but again, like, you only pop off if X amount of people think you're dope. Like, you only become a fashionable icon if X amount of people want to wear that hoodie backwards or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, we as a society do kind of control a lot more than, at least something that I think is, we control a lot more than we think it is.
But it's more than pop culture. I'm talking.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not just. I'm not trying to say pop culture. I'm saying, like, could be anything. Like, it can't, like, it's not, you're starting a cult. If you don't have, like, 50 people who join, you don't have a cult.
Again, you're still focused. This is regular shit. This is like a bunch of people trying to sell crack to be cool. And then we all consume this content because we want to see the hood fucked up, and we want to see this disastrous shit happening in society, and we want to see everything fucked up because it's good entertainment for our fucking minds. We're addicted to this chaos. We want these police to shoot people down. We want to see it all because it's almost like these fucking red rooms, and we want to see this torture has happened to people is more what I take it. It's not about what people are willing to do to pop per se. Maybe it is. Maybe there's a degree of that, but where I'm coming at it from is more like we are addicted to this drama and this chaos and whatnot, and like there's people who probably kind of get off on the idea of cops shooting people or the crime manifestations that, as you just see them described, or the school shooters or all these different chaotic things that are playing out. And when we watch the news, like, we could go watch the cute puppies and the happy things, but nah, we want that chaos. And then our media reflects that because, Top Boy is going to be a top show way more than, say, a nice show about kids doing good stuff in the world.
Yeah.
And then gangster rap's been explored, so yes, there's that element of it.
But I think that, no.
And then it's almost like, how shocking are we going to make this media? How much are we going to desensitize people? How far are we going to take this, And then, I don't know, maybe not everyone's comfortable with it, but I think this is trying to take it to the most extreme. This is the most extreme version of it. Like, we the people just banter. Let's decide how to torture this guy. Let's just decide. Let's make it a whole spectacle more directly.
And that kind of makes me think of like the entertainment back in the days. Like, take Roman gladiators. They used to watch people die and like
because it
fight
makes you feel
animals
better about yourself. You live your best life when you watch them die. Just look, it's okay to cry. You live your best life when you watch them die.
Yep.
Think about how we act on Twitter. Think about how we all cry out and all this shit, but we all kind of feel a little bit better about ourselves when we see savages doing all sorts of other shit, you know, because we're not like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it uses this shockingness of what's happening in the verse, like the best menage is a death menage, chest massage with electric rods for 3, just probably set the jaws with rebar and then pause while you get the photography. And then, you know, like something about like, you know, bear claw is a bear trap to the cap, that's just basic pain, pace to make the brain face its strength and strain, you know, and it's almost like everything is set to push people to their fucking limits, and that's how we almost craft this all, you know. Pace to make the brain face its strength and strain gracefully to places escaping sane thoughts of basic survival. Y'all came to see the amygdala, which I believe is the emotional response center of the brains, a signal fire in the limbic nerves, and gotta give the kill what the kill deserves. So it's almost like we paint them all that way, and then in a sense we want to get that reaction and then blame them for it for having that reaction. And then you get the third verse, you know.
Like, we want you to get angry, but then we're mad that you're angry in a sense?
Yeah, we want to make you push to the limits so that you go crazy, so that we can blame you for going crazy, because that's our entertainment. I might be wrong, but then you gotta reach the bottom while you muddy waters, which is interesting. With your hollering for help, this is not an option. Throw caution to the wind and live with yourself. You can probably count on one hand all the times that you ever really felt anything. And I like the fact that it's almost like you're trying to push this disparity and go down these paths of darkness just to feel. Like, we're all so numb to everything that we have to like further sensationalize life in order to have a reaction within ourselves and stuff, you know.
But I feel like it's an interesting topic, because it's like we go down these paths to feel something, to feel real pain, agony, cry, whatever, you know, to kind of get in touch with our emotions, if you want to think about that. But it's like we also, like, I feel like, or I believe we also do it to feel what happiness is, because like you need to feel hurt to understand what being happy is from that hurt, you know, like being able to transition between it,
I guess. I don't know. And then it just kind of, he goes into like a double time flow and just rips it real quick, and then ends with like, to kill a saint, killers say you will know the limits of flesh stretched and eyes bleed before they die. You said you had demons to exercise, and cash in hand stand to witness demise. Times come, killer wants audience advice. And to me it almost sounds like when rich people spend crazy money to do this eccentric, ludicrous stuff. Like, a good example is like when people want to climb Mount Everest and put other people's life, the perils, not the natives, but the people that live there, that end up being those tour guides and all this other bullshit, risking their life just so that you can accomplish something and feel something at the end of the day, with your careless disregard for all the cost of it all. And then it's like, times come, killer wants audience advice. It's like, okay, let's cut the shit. How do you really want to do this? Why don't we be a little more real with the situation? In a sense, what is it that you want to kill people off with this month? What's the cool new trend? And it's like, our actions can be kind of destructive. So I don't know, maybe it's wrong, but I feel like this has a little bit to do with the media and how it reports on the pain and the trauma of a situation, making it like TV, so that people are just entertained by it rather than actually feeling what you're supposed to feel towards it. And I thought it was a really cool song. I gave it another 4.5. It's pretty interesting.
I gave it a 4.2. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, for me, the way I kind of understood it was kind of like a follow-up to the last track, as Le Chat is kind of representing this, like, part of me feels like a lot of this album is also kind of a bit fictional in terms of like kind of going into certain minds of things, because this whole song kind of feels like the mind of a serial killer. It's really what it kind of screams to me, is this happy type of game show type feel when you're trying to pick on what you want to do and how you want to kind of play around for the actual audience that may be looking. I kind of like I feel like there's that grander picture of just...
So the grander picture is where it becomes, like, in my opinion, the commentary on us and the kind of entertainment we consume. And this whole album has been very satirical in its commentary on modern society, specifically on how black people in the hood are treated and how it's represented, right? So I don't know why I would leave that narrative all of a sudden. I feel like this is furthering in a different direction on that narrative, whilst also it does connect. The songs seem to have that level of connection and layering back on themes that as the album does progress, so I'll completely give you that. And you're right, it is super serial killer, but it's almost saying this is what we find as entertainment. Which, if you think about a lot of the media we consume, it's basically a bunch of serial killers, and we call them cool.
I mean, just look at them, like, I know this is really stupid, but there's this one meme where it's like me watching serial killer documentaries, and it's like this guy with a big smile on their face, and I kind of look at that meme like, this isn't fake though, like, this is true. Like,
I know, but they're so good. They're so good. You just watch these serial killer documentaries, and it's so good to watch. Like, wow, people are fucked up, and you feel better about yourself, like you're not as fucked up.
It kind of feels like a possession, doesn't it?
It does feel like you're being a possession interlude of the media as you're consumed. It's almost like reefer madness possessed the minds of people towards criminalizing marijuana in the 30s. Watch that shit while you're stoned. So this samples a vampire movie. I don't remember which one. But basically there's some girl describing her paranoia, and she sounds crazy, like people want something for her. And then the vampire's like, it's called paranoia, Cynthia. I would like to try a somewhat unconventional procedure with you if that is acceptable. I believe it will alleviate these visions you are experiencing. Well, if you say so, doctor. And then he goes on and is like, look into my eyes as I hypnotize you, and I slowly feel your body go limp. And she relaxes and he lets it all in, and feel it in your body, feel its heat spread through your limbs. You are completely relaxed now. In front of your face, picture a dark red cloud. Observe it floating inches in front of before your lips. Feel the heat. Feel it in your body. The heat spread through your limbs. With each breath, feel the churning cloud of hate and darkness as it sleeps into every cell of every organ. Prime them, preparing them to accept into your soul the allure of the Dark Master.
Such a cool album.
So, what I'm trying to say is, I think that this is how hate becomes a cure for paranoia in our society, or how, in the same way in the last song, the media angst and stuff is built up, creates a degree of paranoia, and in a sense we polarize and divide ourselves and are manipulated into embracing this kind of hatred rather than maybe healthier alternatives, which breeds into the whole toxic environment of everything that exists. So in a sense, the cures for our paranoia induce our paranoia.
But I like how
I give it a 4.25. It's better than the other interludes.
I like how the doctor is creating a monster out of this character, the Cynthia character, which has now just right now has just full circled the whole album for me in terms of certain tracks that we'll get to soon. But this was actually really cool how I kind of took it as we seek for help when we're lost and confused, and you have to be careful on kind of who you talk to, on who you trust, on who you kind of reach out to, because you don't really know what their motive or their intentions are or their agenda is, because it sounds like this doctor isn't somebody who is here to help the Cynthia character. It seems like he's somebody who's going to, in a way, use her paranoia to manipulate her into a different creature, which has just connected in my brain. So that was really, really cool. I ended up giving it a 4 on 5, though.
Or maybe it's the same girl, and we're getting the backstory of Le Chat.
Oh,
who then turns out to be the person you're thinking of on track 13. oh, the album's so connected. So really, all along, she was the one who performed the government raid on the first thing, all by herself. I don't know if I'm going too far at this, but if I understand, they make
No, because her
two
track
fucking
13 doesn't have. No, this ain't no.
That's track that you don't know that this album's in chronological order story-wise, do you? Are you making big assumptions here, Chris? Oh, you are. It could be like 8 hours earlier, 15 years later, type shit going on, all right?
Listen, given the creativity
I
of this
am-
album,
I'm
I'm pretty
allowed
sure
to-
they would have added that in there.
Would they have, though? Or would they have left it up to your imagination to wonder?
All right, listen, it's all in your head, Holden.
That's half the point. By the way, it's a sample from The Return of Count Yorga, if you want to check that out. And it's all in your head now, Chris. Yorga. I don't often do this because I find it to be kind of lazy. But Tolls U7 on Genius says, all in your head finds clipping, recontextualizing the pimp talk of Sugar Free and Too Short into a metaphor for an exorcist-style possession. I don't know if that's true or not, but in case it is true, I felt it would be good, and you guys would appreciate that if you do see the way that those language. But I don't know enough about Sugar Free or Too Short to really know that. I kind of know Too Short does pimp and stuff, but you have this Robin Hood lady kind of going like, there's some motherfucking scripture right here you heard, the good book says, and all that shit. And she basically has this flossy ass pimping talk and is pointing out that, you know, pimping out will get you money. And it'll get a hoe gotta pay that, you still owe her that rib, a hoe gotta pay it back with interest. So it's almost like it's woman's nature to be manipulated into that shit. Then Diggs does the slowest, strangest verses he's gonna do on this album, in my opinion. He goes cross heart, die slow, light rain, thin coat, fall slash, high heel, real skin, come feel, blonde hair, red lips, blue face, tight clips. Look, love, you want this ass, don't front. It kind of sounds like a prostitute seducing a situation. Fake looking lady of the night, you know, look, love, you want this ass, don't front. And then it's almost like she is pimping him, would be like the other thing, or putting out like I think that's kind of a role reversal that's meant to be, because Robyn sounds like the pimp in this. So
Right.
the way to a bitch purse to getting a bitch head, and on the 16th letter a hoe gonna say what you said, like in a real way, like a bitch think what you thought and ain't even know. And if you're real about this pimping, you ain't never puff, cause pussy and dick stack $1 so quick, etc. And then she does a little thing and just kind of saying whatever it is, this is how you're gonna make your money. And then Diggs is like, bring that big talk, lay back, fuck boy, don't play, just noise, no names, stay wet, come see, work hard, get free, this, that, good, come more, you should. And to me, it almost looks like these artists or these people and other people kind of sucked into this lifestyle, almost pimped into it. Like, they're the commodity that is being pimped. And it's done in this like kind of top level, and I might be wrong. This was one of the harder songs for me to understand. And then you get this beautiful outro from Counterfeit Madison where it's like, amen, 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 bow your head, repeat what is said, lead us away from every temptation, Lord, deliver us from heaven, queen and kingdom caught all inside, amazing grace, the sweet exchange, from lost and found, the wretched stays holding back, measure running over, warm to the touch, it's eternal. So it almost feels like this request for salvation or whatever is coming through it, but it's almost like again flipping the whole track in that.
I feel like in a way, because thinking of like the prostitutes and that type of thing, it feels like you're right. These rappers, artists, people who kind of get pimped into or trapped into this idea that you should be fucking these people and you should kind of live like this.
Be more granular than fucking, and just caught up in the false illusions. You're being manipulated. You're being pimped so that other people can make money off of your efforts and your lifestyle. And in a lot of ways, you can see stuff like how high-end fashion labels exploit the hood, right? That's a way people can get pimped, we'll say. Or the way they use rappers to skip out on like 8-9 figure advertising budgets. It's ridiculous when you really think about how little these people get paid. Oh, here's a $2,000 outfit, say Gucci a bunch. We're talking millions of dollars of advertising saved. That's being pimped to me. That guy should be getting paid millions of dollars to say that Gucci line, but they're not.
That's true.
That's just an example. And then it's almost like...
And then all these kids just throw it in because they think it's hype.
And then it's almost like if you think about it, like Robyn represents the capitalist, the people that are doing the pimping.
Right.
It's almost like this is a prayer, so you get to that end where this pimping is an eternal thing. It's always going to happen because there's always going to be people to benefit off that situation. But to do it in like this gospel-y, prayer-y kind of way is really cool to me. As far as songs goes, this is my least favorite of the songs, so I gave it a 4.25, but still, it's pretty good.
I as well gave it a 4.2. I like the creation of it. I like how they've got these interludes coming through, and it's kind of really giving you this. I think it's more of like trying to give you a message and a real understanding of something more than just the song itself, because the verses were a little short, but the whole vibe to the song was really cool. So I gave it a 4.2.
Alright, my attitude changes completely for the next couple of tracks as we spike it up into dope-ass banger land with Blood of the Fang. It's hard to pick a favorite on this album because there are so many of them that I'm calling fives, including this track. But this might be my favorite of all of my favorites. Like, this song is quite special. So, it also samples a freaking vampire movie from back in the day. I don't remember which movie it is. Let me see if I can find it. It's from The Blood of Things Part 2, Shadow of the Cross, which is something, and kind of samples that into it. So, by the Christians it is written that in the Black Merithian age there existed an addiction to blood, you know? So in a vampire kind of way, but also the core concept of this album, and almost like the society's got this addiction to blood, and we glorify it, etc. And then we get this, can you guess the word I'm going to use? Experience about what this track just flows through. So drink up, 50 years but enough time to come back. They want to call it a bluff. Okay, time to back. Hail King Hui, do it for fluid. You knew it was moving forever. Loop, the truth is the movement was really too clever. Who is the newest to do it? Pursue an abuseless, polluted agenda. So right away you get the sense 50 years since, the 60s and the civil rights movement has happened. I'm going to assume it's ready to come back and maybe push things forward again. You get the sense with Huey, which I believe is a reference to Huey Newton, who's one of the co-founders of the Black Panther Party. And then you get the sense that, okay, once upon a time things were going in that direction, and now the message is being polluted. Too long to get their bullshit together. 50 years but enough. So it's almost like, okay, they've had enough time to fix the problems, and you have not done. Patient, gave him 2-year grace. 66 came back, they saw the true face. Black on black irate, had them all running scared to the gate. So he's describing the fear that evoked from all the situations that were transpiring in 66 as the Black Panthers kind of came to fruition at that point. And they were, I guess you can call it a protest group. I see them as a group of people that fought for the rights of black folk and may have broken the law, may not have. That's really not really the point. To me, they're not that different than what Black Lives Matters or other groups are supposed to be in this sense. And I bet most people watching this know more about the Black Panthers than I do. But it's just for the sake of what this song's approaching is that revolutionary side of what they did. They fought. It wasn't a passive group. And I'm very inspired by that because I think the passivity of our society, look, Montreal just had 500,000 people protest climate change, and it was mad peaceful and it was kind of disruptive for some people, but who cares? Fucking who cares? Honestly, it's lovely that 500,000 people showed up to march for Greta Thunberg, and kudos to the little one for what she's trying to do with her life and all this other stuff. But end of the day, bet if 500,000 people fuck shit up, you'd actually get some attention in a way that's a little bit more than not. I'm not saying you should fuck shit up. I'm saying that there's different approaches that could be taken when peaceful protesting only goes so far. Anyway, skin to skin, who you kin though, what's ever been inside too simple, syrup he sip cause you can't taste his own blood. Drink it up, you belong in every milliliter of, they try to take out every military leader, but you was born to be a martyr and it doesn't mean a thing because that body really meat. And so from there, it's almost like you were born to be something great. They've killed off all the military leaders. The amount of actual government bullshit of fake imprisonment claims where they would plant drugs on people and put them in jail, The government did a lot of very bad things to the leaders of the Black Panthers and such. And then the idea of, moving into syrup, which you take as codeine and whatnot, and how they get a bunch of people stoned on painkillers and whatnot. And you're supposed to be like, this great thing out there, but instead you take it out, and it's almost like you were born to be a martyr, but it doesn't really mean a thing because you're really just a bag of meat at the end of the day. That's how you're treated, or the flip the perspective on. Fill it up. Your history is one you might consider killing for. This ain't the shit they taught you when you went to kindergarten. What you need to know is in the blood. Queen Angela said, done told y'all grasp at the root. So what y'all talking about? Hands up, don't shoot. So what I believe he's doing here is saying, look at the real history of the situation. Yo, if you really understand the history of what it is to be black in America, you'd probably be a little more willing to kill, all things considered, because it's that fucked up. So grasp at the root is to look at the source of the problem and deal with it there, whereas the current slogan, and I bring up Black Lives Matter then, is hands up, don't shoot, and it's like, that's not that as good as that message is, and this is me attempting to interpret this guy's lyrics, okay, bear with me here, is that's not good enough. That's like kind of weak. That's not going to solve the problem. It's a passive thing. That's like you're dealing with the consequence of the problem and you're not really dealing with the problem. And then you get the chorus, look back, blood on the ground, look straight, they still shooting, jump back, still here. Now, what that tell you about death? Death ain't shit. You got to drink it up, drink it up. So what I'm hearing here is, guess what? All this peaceful shit, they're still shooting. There's still blood on the ground. It's not ending. It tells you that death isn't shit. People dying isn't going to change the situation. You may have to die to change the situation. It's fucked up. Then you get the second verse.
It really shows a level of like dedication. Like he's really putting it out there. Like you need to go all for all if you want to fight for that cause.
If people are willing to kill us, maybe it's like you have to take into consideration the severity of what's going on. Then in the second verse, it's like fist in the sky if you're ready, dice okay like confetti. They thought you was playing, though really the game was more training. They finna be blood. It's almost like when you're ready for that revolution of sorts, it's gonna be a bloody situation. This is the consequence. They thought they treated us like it's a game. Here's what's up. And much of it blues. I'm getting the feeling that the blues there is the police situation. They're kind of the provocateur of this. Time to fly, no, because Tom Fickle, so cold, finna snow, swing an icicle, taking out a police or a politician, issuing a statement, turn into a dime or get a nickel. But this ain't just a money beat, this ain't honey sweet. It's funny to think them wanting to speak when the pain is deep and ingrained in blood. So it's almost like getting that violent reaction and taking out people that are dismissing and using their platforms and their power to control and whatnot. And then it flows through. The rest of the verse is pretty solid, but I really like the way it ends. Geronimo, Erica, and Gregory, when they face us in every book, record, or CD, even made the MP3s laced with blood. Brother Malcolm done told you by any means, so what y'all talking about all on the same team? And then it's like looking at Malcolm X and his attitude of we will get what we deserve by any means, which implied, violence if necessary.
But I like how he goes, so what you talking about all on the same team, where I feel like he's implying like if we're doing it by any means,
we can't all be on the same team.
Right,
there are
you
other
could
sides.
Cross me, you could do this,
and it's like on top of that, how could we all be on the same team? And I believe in a sense, blacks, whites, Americans, and the way they're trying to paint it all, if this division exists. So you can't have both these things. If we want the revolution, not everyone's on the same team, right? And then you get that third verse, like everybody want to kill a movement for the movement, but they cannot kill what cannot die. There wasn't ever really an opponent for what they figured was only 3/5 human, and they thought they could enslave by disconnecting from the truth. So here, it's like people want to kill your movement or fighting for equality or equal rights or however you want to spin that. But you can't kill this movement because it's not really an opponent. It's not really something you're trying to kill here. It's that you used to think that this is 3/5 human and that's some fucked up shit, Mm-hmm. And they thought that you can enslave by brainwashing away from the truth, but that's not what it is. But look at Brother George. He's back again. And he never did look finer. Said it's time to gather up the meeting at Ina. Said that Quentin couldn't kill him and America can't either. He's been sleeping since 71. It's time to feed or at least sip a little some. And I get the feeling that I don't really know who he is, but I'm going to assume that something happened and this guy's not with us, and he came back and he was significant based on the context. And he's coming in, he up in the Cadillac with little Bobby Hutton, who, again, I'm not really sure who he is, but he was one of the Black Panthers from what Genius is saying. Riding shoddy with the shoddy, swooping up the cousins, they sue whooping for your blood. Thought that was a cool line because he kind of does the sue sound in the blood. The Bobby Steele is on the door when they regroup at the club. So again, it's like he's kind of putting up the Black Panthers and bringing them all back together and kind of getting and showing where almost like the history and the culture stemmed from, or hip-hop at least almost seems to stem from, this revolutionary movement to fight for what's proper instead of what has been presented previously on the album. And then, I don't know, he flows in, and then at the end, and I guess they never knew what it was, a test to assess the way they move in and digest the flesh for every wicked human till the best and blackest blood is back to ruling. Prince Stokely done told y'all have no fear, so how come every time they're like kya 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 y'all look scared? So it's like, basically you have to fight until you're back in your ruling class, until the power is reestablished. So when they shoot at you, why do you look scared? And then it just kind of ends with the chorus again. I know I talked a whole lot and whatnot, but man, this track might be one of the coolest calls to revolution in arms ever. It's almost like, think back on our history. Look at what the Black Panthers did. What happened that we stopped this fight? Is what I'm taking from it. And it's almost like a call of arms at these different historical figures and saying, what did they like die for? What did they get taken out for? Why aren't we doing this? And if you watch the music video, man, it's pretty fucking powerful too, as he's basically captured and he's like, you see him as he's being beat down or whatever, and it just kind of ends with him with his gun, and he starts eating the gun at the end. Anyway, I thought it was a fantastic track, a fantastic video, and I gave it a 5 on 5.
I gave it a 5 on 5 because I really think that the track itself is great. The flows are tight. The presentation was super on point. I didn't feel like this is something I wanted to skip. I was super enthralled with it. But I also do acknowledge that I don't know a lot of the references and a lot of like what he was trying to actually get at. So I did find myself kind of being like, huh? And spending a lot more time just trying to like really, I guess, learn a lot from the song instead of more enjoying it. So I don't really have much to comment on it. We just kind of went through it, but I do really like this song. So I gave it a 5 for what it is, and I do acknowledge the greatness behind this.
All right, next track's called Story 7. So this track is interesting. We start off with Kimberly, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing, Chris. Video is grainy, but she can make out the face. It was clearly Steve. And then some bitches on her knees, and she was not even pretty. And so basically, this lady's fucking Steve, or sucking Steve, I should say.
Sucking Steve.
And then she fished around for a key. She's really upset. So you get the sense that Kimberly is being given some footage that shows that Steve is getting some bad things going on.
Steve's cheating.
And then she goes to check this place where Steve is, and the lock's broken. She opens the door, and Steve's on the floor, and he's all gnarled and eaten for some reason, and a lot of scratches and shit are on him. And then blood goes to the window, and that's like, okay, so Steve's been murdered and massacred on top of cheating. So he was cheating, and this lady just takes him out. And then we get this weird chorus where it's like, Cynthia strolling through the moonlight. I can't do it. It's this weird melody.
Cynthia strolling through the moonlight.
Casually wiping the blood from the corn. Anyway, it's some fucking weird melody thing. Where it's
no,
like,
but it's great because...
It fits very well.
Go on. We find out near the end of the song anyway.
No, but like just the way it sounds fits really well, and it's goofy, positive, and whatnot.
But it gives you this sense of like cannibalism in a way. Like right off the bat, you're kind of figuring out, you know, Steve's cheating, doing something like that. Something happens, and now in the chorus when you go through it, and he's like, and Dave Diggs is kind of like wiping the blood from the corner of her lip or whatever. It's like, shit. Like we're dealing with some real crazy shit.
And then Cynthia knew Steve wouldn't do right from the moment he said that he wouldn't eat her out. So if you don't eat out Cynthia, she fucking eats you. Literally. Cynthia singing on a blue night, temporarily satisfied, but she knew it wouldn't last. Cynthia steps into the brewery, thirsty for a drink to find someone to help hours pass. So this was good enough for now. It satisfied an itch, but it wasn't enough, and she's ready to go for 2.
Which is interesting because it's like, given that now, I at this moment in time, it's kind of like, what is your itch though? Is it a sexual itch or a desire to kill?
But then we know that Cynthia was possessed by a vampire on possession.
I just found that out literally like 10 minutes ago when we talked about it.
Right? So the album's meta like that. I didn't even catch it because I moved on from Possession
click,
until you listened to it again.
Like,
and you're like, oh.
Didn't click the
And then it's probably
connection.
Leshat too.
But here's
because
the thing, right?
the serial killer chick from Leshat has the same obsession for blood. Think about it. And then this has an obsession for blood.
So then is Cynthia Lechat and the person from Possession the same woman from the first one in Haunted where she's being paranoid and she's seeing a bunch of shit?
It might be.
That's cool.
I think it could be.
That's really cool.
Anyway, so then Randy's there, and Randy's from Story 1, their track Story 1, and that was a cop whose sister died in a taxi, and then he got...
Oh, but Story 1 is like on a different album?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's the first of the stories. So they actually cross over like that, and then... after Randy had sent the photos, he decided that he had just earned a drink. Shit, he's celebrating the end of a horrible case. He never had to see that woman Kimberly ever again. He thinks shit, he had completed the task was simple enough.
But Randy's...
So Randy's a cop, right?
Right, but
he's
dealing
from...
with...
Well, he's an ex-cop.
Kimberly was the...
So Kimberly is the one that was cheating with Steve, is what I'm understanding.
No,
Kimberly's the woman who paid...
girlfriend.
Kimberly paid Randy to get this evidence that Steve is cheating with Cynthia.
Yes.
And then, so
Randy's
he had to go
PI.
through it. And then Randy is like, and the next cop PI needs to get paid. He needs every dollar about this little job could make because the bookies were calling. And if he doesn't get paid, they're going to fuck up his kneecaps and shit. And he turns and he sees Cynthia, who's sitting cross-legged at the bar. It goes back into that melodic thing.
Cross-legged at the bar, now holding up a drink.
And then wink, lips. And it's like, it's funny, right? Because you can just picture it, but it's got this like creepiness to it.
You also have to understand, he also talks with the beat.
Yeah.
Like the beat will stop and he'll stop. And then the beat will start and he'll start. And then
Cynthia whispers and thinks
it's not like a normal like you can just flow along with it. Like if you don't know when he stops, it's going to fuck you up when you're trying to sing along. It's really crazy.
Anyway, David Lee, in the third verse, he's like, okay, is this the type of thing where he pays? And the beat gets really fucking fucked up, weird, funky, and different, and it just goes completely apeshit in an amazing way that just makes the song truly awesome.
Well, here's the thing, right? So from what I understand in the third verse, you have to finish off in the second verse. The second verse, when you lead into the chorus, I think it's Randy, right? Randy met Cynthia, but Cynthia's trying to seduce Randy.
Yep.
Right?
And then they leave, and he's like, okay, so is this the type of thing where he pays? And they're going to get in a cab. And she's like, no, it's cool. You can have it for free this one time, because he's like, I don't want to pay.
Well, hold on. No, you have to explain it, right? So he's trying to be a little bit thing, and then he asks for a rain check. So he
only asks for the rain check if he has to pay. Hey, he say, is this the type of thing where you have to pay? And if so, he gonna need a rain check. She say, you can have this one for free, bae. And she licked his lips, started biting on his neck. And, because she's getting a vampire werewolf lady. It makes sense.
Yeah.
He say what's crazy about this between the bites and kisses is he ain't been in a taxi since back when he lost his sister, that's the Easter egg to tie it back to track Story 1, where the guy named Randy lost his sister in a taxi. In the first track that they did, Story 1.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
That's some meta shit, is all I'm saying. And then she starts to see his throbbing veins. Everybody's getting horny. And then for some reason, the cabbie pulls over. I click pop, pop, silver flashes mixed with red, and that was that. So I think they use silver because silver is used to kill off like vampires and werewolves and shit. So now Cynthia's choking on her blood, and she's dying. And some little Trina girl sees everything, but Trina's going to wake up tomorrow and wonder if it's a dream. Just randomly showing that these little kids see this type of horrible shit that plays out in the hood. And I said, just wonder if it's even real.
But it's also like because the way I kind of see it is like she's I think it's a metaphor for women who kind of go out and look for these type of men.
Maybe.
Because I kind of feel like she's like attention seeking. She's kind of out here looking for like married men, and the act of killing them is not.
We don't know that Randy's married. Now you're just making a big supposition.
No, I'm saying like the way I kind of interpret it is not just like married men. Just she's going out to meet these people for her own thing. Like, it's not because she wants a relationship.
They're her prey.
Yeah.
Which plays into a lot of, like, I mean, I think we've seen temptation described as a woman in here. I mean, I feel like it's a reflection of the different things that suck you into the world and the greater metaphor of it, while still being a singularly fucking creepy story. So, like, if you look at it in the lens of the whole album, there's lots of things that this woman can manifest as in the, you know, the different threats to society and whatnot. As we've seen constantly, the woman is the killer on this album.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I don't know. But then, in a sense, now, for some reason, the cab driver kills her. And he just watches her die or whatever. And that part was just kind of like...
What if it was planned?
Like, I don't know how to answer how that plays out. This was just a crazy story to me. I don't know how it fully fits into stuff, except that maybe there's a silver lining that a hero or somebody else can come through and save you in your moment of despair, even if you can't even be aware that that's what's happening. Because he doesn't realize she's a monster. In his mind, Randy's mind, Cynthia just dies in his arm, and he's just like, Cynthia. She's dying. And like the cab driver just like runs away, never explains anything. Either way, this track was like amazing to me, and I give it a 5.
I gave it a 4.2.
That's fine, Chris. You don't have to give it a 5 and think it's incredible. And the next one is called Attunement.
Oh.
All right, Chris, what do you think this song's about?
No, I was so lost.
I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
I was lost. I like the song itself because of the way it was produced, the scratches and the static and these weird sounds and noises, but that's what I think kind of got me lost for the song. It took away my ability to really kind of follow the lyrics. Like, it felt very overpowering. But yeah, I don't actually really know what this song's about, and I apologize.
So Attunement was the early, and this is according to Wikipedia, the early term adopted by practitioners of energy medicine, originally developed by Lloyd Arthur Meeker. Meeker taught and practiced attunement as a central feature of his spiritual teachings, the emissary of divine light. Attunement is taught as a personal spiritual practice and as a healing modality offered through the hands. Emissaries of divine light believe that attunement is a pivotal factor in the conscious evolution of humanity. That sounds like some cult ass shit to me. I might be completely wrong on this song, but I think I have a theory on this one. So it's got this crazy static stuff, and then he comes in with his rapping, and again, it's weird and on edge and jarring and shit, and he's like, come on and rock. Back to the edge and it's up to the tip. It's not nice. The ropes are tight enough to hold but never burn. That would defeat the purpose, nothing beneath the surface. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
You're like brought to the edge, but it's almost like things are tight enough to hold but never burn. So it's not really about hurting per se. It's just kind of being at the edge. And
well, it could
so
be
I'm wondering, like, what is this really going on about?
It sounds like it could be like somebody who's really just in love with pain, like living on that thrill of pain, just
and then
feeling like the sense of feeling alive, right?
And then you get your first verse. The surface is just in service of Holden, the form cursed. The shape is so inescapable, but it would burn, bet it would burn, bet it would hurt. And there's the rub, the red in the flesh is fine, on the fire on skin is not, but it is impossible to, is it possible not to get caught up in the thoughts about whether or not to stop before the damage done is irreversible, but isn't terminal? Shit, goddammit, loosen the grip. And then my, like, 5th listen, I was like, what if this is about, like, flirting with suicide in your mind?
Oh, shit.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, like, the surface is service of Holden, whatever. All of that is just, like, you know, and there's the rub. That you're fantasizing about hurting yourself or the pain or whatever. But then to stop before the damage done is irreversible, but isn't terminal. So it's like, you know...
You can't come back from death.
Or, like, you want to flirt with it until you get to the point where it's too much, and then you kind of go, shit, goddamn, loosen the grip. Like, maybe it's a noose you're tying around your neck, and then at the last second, the rope doesn't burn. You don't want it to hurt. You want it to be, like, a quick and easy experience, you know? And then when you get come on and rock back at the edge and then up to the tip, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it's, like, you pushing yourself to the edge of death and back or not. Or maybe I'm wrong, but, like, I can't figure this track out. It's fucking obscure, and he's going really fast. Shit, goddamn. Then in the earnest, you should just let go before the damage done is irreversible but isn't terminal. Shit, goddamn it, loosen the grip is how he starts the next verse. But then the body could slip, the plastic body busy being a building built on the basis of never knowing. It's nothing but what if you do. What did you do? What did she say? She said it was nice but ain't shit. Made a mean bowl of rice and then dip, and the drip is literally slipping away from the fingertips. He could cripple a man in a minute if a man could have had a reason to live. So it almost sounds like maybe that woman that's been terrorizing us the whole album is some kind of metaphor for something that destroys your sense of self. And again, I may be reaching, I don't know, but it's ambiguous and shit. Then the next verse kind of goes into like this fucking situation where life's convoluted sounding. And again, it's like this woman fucks you, or life fucks you in a sense, and it makes it complicated and it doesn't feel right. And then there's kind of a weird instrumentally part, and then it comes into like, I don't know, a slower, different vibe when he goes, looking over the edge, ain't the drop by the screw face. You've been saying you want it to stop. Why don't you take one more step in like God? Or what you make up in your head, stir the pot while you lose faith. Shouldn't be so hard to be a part and be a part of ether. Shouldn't need to start or need to be a part in neither. And I get the sense where it's like, it's hard to kill yourself. Yeah. It's hard to end your life and go to that point, and it shouldn't be this complicated. And then at the end of the day, it's like the rest of this verse kind of berates yourself as you invalidate your humanity down to like being nothing. But like, I just want to be part of the dust, ashes and ashes, dust to dust. Or shouldn't be starting evenings to receive a piece of crust. You are not a body, you're a metal shell, and you can see the rust. So it's like you don't even see the essence of who you are anymore, and then it just kind of fades out. So I think maybe that's kind of like the culmination of everything, is that life builds up to you questioning whether or not life's even worth living, perhaps, and the ultimate form of your blood addiction is to take your own life. I could be wrong, but that's what I took from that last track.
That could be really...
And I thought it sounded really cool, and I thought it was really fucking trippy, still on point with everything else I've loved, the crazy quick flows, the great lyrics, the ambiguity to it all. 4.75 on 5.
I mean, I gave the song a 4.2 for what I understood and heard from it. I liked the presentation of it, but really kind of going through it now and really thinking about it and kind of reading along, it's deep. Like it's just deep.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna ramble on.
All right, one more track for us to talk about. It's truly a banger on this album, something unforgettable, something I think everybody needs to hear. It is 18 minutes of pure joy and serenity. Let's talk about Piano Burning. So you hear a little bit of lighter fluid or whatever being poured. You hear like a little match. And then it is a piano burning. Not figurative, not like a metaphor. It is an audio recording of a piano burning. As in I liked it. I liked listening to it because it kind of had this like ASMR-y, entrancing feel to it. Like, do I think this is a song I would listen to? No. But like, let's say I wanted some nice white noise-like effects before going to bed to like listen to and just have some shit going on. I happen to really like the sound of like fire burning wood.
You understand that I literally picture you before bed like listening to this album and then just ending on this?
Okay,
Let
that's
me
fine.
give myself a nightmare, why don't I?
No, but I mean this particular track, Piano Burning, it reminds me of a lot of the ambient white noisy stuff. And I have to admit, sitting there and listening to the fire burning with nothing else, it's just the fire burning, it was kind of peaceful. And then you get some highlights, because like you kind of get into it, you're sitting there. If you're like me, you start fiddling around, you're like, okay. And I listened to this whole 18 minutes. So I know about 6 minutes in, there's a highlight of this track. You hear that twang as the strings snap. And then somewhere along the way, you start hearing wood popping and collapsing. And you can envision, as the piano is being destroyed more audibly, what parts of the piano are burning up. And if you've ever watched stuff on fire burn, it's quite visual of an experience, because it's literally a piano burning. Like, here's the thing. I don't understand the ending of this album. I told Bonnie, she just like, fuck out of here. Like, what is this artsy partsy crap? And like, I kind of get where it's coming from. I don't know how to interpret it. I don't understand the reason it's there. I literally wrote, I think this is dumb, but sounds nice. Because it sounds real nice to me. I enjoyed listening to it in the sense of having a serene thing. But as like an album point, like would I ever listen to the song titled Piano Burning ever again? No, I would not. Even if the album was playing. The album ends at Attunement for me. So 4 on 5 because it was a quite pleasant 18 minutes of almost meditative music.
So, in a cinematic feel, if we kind of go by what we've gotten through the album and the last song we took, right? If the last song is an idea of flirting with death, possibly flirting with suicide, and you don't take your life, I could see why you might want to just kind of be alone with your thoughts by a fire.
Okay.
So I can kind of understand in like a full circle type connection with the album how we've gone through a lot of dark, grim, horrific, type of lyrics and experiences that you kind of need a moment to yourself to just really process it all and really just kind of...
cicadas show up cicadas, whatever, you hear them at a certain point.
And I think it was cool. I mean, it's not going to get... It's not one of the best things because it's 18 minutes long and it's like, okay, I don't want to listen to this. But I think that as a full project ending... Yeah, I think it works. I think like if and I can kind of see credits running through. Like if this was like a movie, I see like the movie ending with our main character or whoever is like explaining the stories, right? Kind of just ending there and sitting there looking off, and it's just this fire kind of burning, whatever it is, and the credits start to roll and the movie just dies out. And I mean, credits are fucking long, so make it feel like 18 minutes, sure. It was cool. I think I kind of understand it on a creative sense. So I gave it a 4 on 5 as well, just because it was like, it's just an instrumental. It's nothing important. But it was cool.
Maybe it was really important, and we just missed the brilliance. Anyway, that's the end of this album review. I think this album is truly remarkable. It is something unforgettable, in my opinion, as in, like, a lot of people's music might sound great, but maybe doesn't have a degree of unforgettable distinction to it. Like, you just sometimes hear albums, or you see a movie, or watch a show, and it, like, has this... something about it that stands out to you where it almost imprints into your mind. And the way this album played out felt like a dark horror movie, but the really scary part is that it was based on real life and was about real life things happening in America today. And I think that's what really makes it a magical art piece, like a real horror satire piece commentating on our culture and what we are into, and really kind of driving home that, like if you were to look at this from like a lore or metaphor in the future, kind of describing it now, you could say once upon a time there existed an addiction to blood. Either way, I have 2 grades for this album. One with the skits, the real grade, in which case it's a 4.55, and it's basically, to me, I would say a classic of some kind. Is it like the kind of classic where it'll appear on greatest of all time lists and will pop people like this? No, I don't think so. But if you play this album for me in 15 years, I'm willing to put money down that I think it's as incredible as it is today in its composition and its vision. It's not the kind of album that, like, it's weird. It's playing to the fact that it's weird. It's trying to do something that stands out. And I think it succeeded here in being something interesting that has something to say while also being talented and proving if he wanted to be any old rapper he could. All at the same time. Then if we cut out the skits, the mark goes up to a 4.75. It is one of the best albums I think I heard in terms of achieving a lot of the things I think are important in an album based on concepts, a fluid story, just the way that it calls back to itself, the way that there's Easter eggs, connections you can go make. Like, there's a whole mystery to this project, and I really hope more people hear it. I don't know if a lot of people know who Clipping is. I hadn't heard of them before this, but I really hope a lot of people get the opportunity to hear this project.
Cool. I gave the album a 4.26 on 5. I really enjoyed it. As a first time listen and being introduced to Clipping, it was really, really cool. I think a lot of it is I may not understand a lot of the references, and I may not be like up there with a lot of the lyricism and the poetry and the way that it's being written. So, that's on me. But it was solid. Like, you don't have to be super smart to understand a lot of what he's saying. You kind of just need to be in this, like, I guess, type of vibe, type of mind state where you have to follow along with how they're kind of giving the album, and you can still kind of walk away with certain ideas, concepts, and understandings of what they're trying to tell you. And that was something that I really enjoyed from it.
Fair enough. So thank y'all for watching. We totally appreciate you being here with all of us. Let us know in the comments what you thought about any part of this review, this album, anything in particular. I don't know, maybe is the weather cool by you? Do you have nice colorful leaves like we do up in Canada? If you do make the effort to leave a comment, I'll make that effort to respond to you. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for more reviews. You could like the video. If you did, you can leave that comment like we said. Or if you want to maybe not be so much on YouTube and you want to watch us on Spotify or listen, I guess, or Podbeam, or we're trying to expand into other networks, you can check some links down below and find your preferred listening platform for our stuff here.
Preferred listening platform.
Special thanks to the patrons: Melga Dempsey, Chris Prada, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Coney Sprouse. This support we do helped us get a new camera. They're paying for us to be on Spotify and stuff. Go those guys. And they get to tell us what albums they want to review every couple of weeks. So like next week it's a Linda Williams album request, so we'll get on that. And if you want to tell us what to do, you can join us on Patreon and get a little bit of say in that. And they're going to help us get a website soon too, and it's a great way to show support. I also dropped an album this week. You can check that out on Spotify and everything. It's called The Alternative Grind, and you can check a couple music videos on this channel promoting that, and let me know what you think about anything. And yeah, looking forward to hearing more from you. And in the great words of the Vulcans, live long and prosper.
Peace from Earth.